What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're gonna see how to get the most out of free plugins, which are obviously simple most of the time, but not low quality. In fact, I think you can get great results even just with free and stock plugins. So more specifically, we're gonna take a look at how to use Reaper stock delay and reverb to maybe implement them in your own lead tone. Say you're using a free VST amp or something that doesn't have an effects section. I'm going to show you a few tips on how you can get great ambience, great delay and great reverb even with just free stock Reaper plugins. So let's hop into the DAW and let's get started. So let's say I have an amp, which obviously in this case has an effects section, but I'm gonna disable that just for the sake of this video. And also, if you're on a budget, I would suggest you to try the Emissary by Ignite Amps, I think, which is a great sounding free, completely free VST amp emulation, which doesn't have, unfortunately, the effects section. So after this video, hopefully you're gonna be able to get a great sounding, maybe lead tone with a great delay and reverb. So let's say you have the amp completely dry. Obviously, if you're dialing in maybe a lead tone, you might want to use some delay to obviously get a nice sounding tone. But let's say you don't have any delay plugin right now. Well, you obviously have the stock plugins if you're using Reaper or really any DAW. So let's try out the stock delay plugin from Reaper, which is, we kind of have two options. We have the Cocos plugins, so the redelay, but I usually think the JS plugins are a bit better, so let's try the JS. And as you can notice, I created another track for just the delay, and I'm gonna drag then the amp into this other track to create basically a bus. So yeah, I have an effects bus here that I can control separately, and also I can process separately. So I think that's the first thing you want to do. So let's see how it sounds like. Which is not bad already. It actually sounds pretty nice. Obviously, you want to get rid of the dry signal. It already sounds nice, but how can we make it more interesting? Because obviously, if you put a third-party plugin, they're usually gonna sound a bit more authentic and interesting. However, we can process the delay track further to achieve that same result with obviously some extra steps, because you're not paying for that, so might as well put the time in instead of the money if you don't have the budget. So first thing to do is making the delay a bit darker, which is usually how analog delay sounds. It's most of the time a bit darker than the dry signal. So I'm gonna just put in an EQ and I'm gonna roll off the high frequencies around 4K maybe. And it's already a bit more authentic. We can go even further than that. And let's also get rid of the low frequencies. Without the EQ. A bit more digital sounding. And then with the EQ. It's a bit more analog. Another thing we can do at this point is add some saturation to the delay. JS saturation. which is another thing that usually happens in analog delays. We can make this pre-EQ, for instance. I think it already sounds like a nice echo mono delay. And if you want, for instance, a stereo delay, we could try to duplicate this track, and then we're gonna pan each channel left and right, and we're gonna change the timing a bit. So maybe let's do 350 on this one and 300, I think, yeah, on this other one. And now you have more of a stereo effect. It actually sounds pretty nice. I'm actually surprised. I wasn't expecting such a result. Another thing we could do, so at this point we can group this track, call it delay. So we have one bus for basically each channel. And then we can do another thing, which is putting reverb just on the delay signal. I believe there's yeah, this one is very nice usually. It's a bit more wet. It's very subtle. If I crank it up, this is what we're adding. And there we go, you have a very nice delay sound just with stock delay plugins from Reaper. Obviously you can use this in your mixes too, for maybe vocals, if you also treat vocals, or really all kinds of applications. I think it's very nice for guitar, especially if you have a VST that doesn't have any effects on it. This way you can get a nice sounding ambience just with stock Reaper plugins, which is very nice. And also, if you made it so far through the video, I have a bonus tip for you, which is basically this is trying to emulate what the H3000 makes, which is kind of a stereo effect like widener with some chorus and some short delay times, which is, for instance, if you're familiar with this plugin, the Microshift by Soundtoys, it's recreating pretty much the same thing. So you have detune and a short delay to basically widen the sound. And it's basically what every studio does with the H3000, which is literally like in every studio. So you can make something similar by using, again, two delays, but very short. So let's get rid of the reverb, for instance. Actually, let's duplicate this, because actually another thing you can do is at this point you can just save the track as a track template, and this way you don't have to do, you know, all the processing every time. You just save the track and then you insert track from template and you have your delay ready to use. So I'm gonna just actually I'm gonna just get rid of the reverb here, and if we use a short time like 50 milliseconds and maybe 80 on this one, we have this kind of effect. Maybe we can go even shorter. Maybe let's go 70 here. maybe even shorter. At this point it kind of sounds like a reverb, which is nice, which is another effect you can use, but I'm gonna go for a more tight. So basically I'm just adding stereo information. If I get rid of this very mono, obviously it's mono, now it's open, it's on both speakers. And then I can apply some pitch manipulation, maybe on just one channel with the, actually you can use a chorus, or you can use, actually I'm gonna try the pitch. Yeah, maybe like 20 cents. Oh, this is adding quite some latency. I think there's another pitch shifter. This is low latency. So just like 20 cents. You can really see how it's widening the sound even more, because obviously stereo information is the difference between left and right. The more the left channel is different from the right channel, the more stereo effect you're gonna have, because there's more phase cancellation. Basically, long story short, if you make left channel different from a right channel, you're gonna have stereo. And that's what we're doing here. We are adjusting the pitch and the time to be different for each channel. So maybe we can pitch the other channel up like 10. It kind of sounds like a chorus at this point, right? So if we blend this in a more subtle way, suddenly you have a stereo sound. Very nice with leads, for instance. And so there you go. These are my tips for spicing up a bit your effect section, your stock effect section in Reaper. Obviously this is true for any DAW if you don't use Reaper. The point is, stock plugins are definitely simpler than maybe third-party plugins, but not necessarily low quality. They can be very high quality. I like the stock Reaper plugins. I think they're very high quality, transparent plugins. You can definitely get the most out of them if you know how to use them, obviously. And so since they're simpler than maybe more expensive plugins, you have to put some more time into them to make them sound good. But if you take the extra effort and if you spend some time trying to dial in exactly what you want, you can definitely get the same result of, say, using any third-party expensive plugin. Anyway guys, I think that's it for today's video. Hopefully it's been helpful to you in some way. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know how are you experimenting with plugins. If you have maybe some other strategies to use stock plugins, definitely leave some comments, let me know. And yeah, I think I'll just see you in the next video. Ciao!
Stereo.